This tutorial will go over how to build a game executable file in FPS Creator, as well as how to remove random doors that may show up during the build process. The first thing with FPS Creator is that we do not save into our desktop folder directly from the beginning. For this software, we will go to File, Save As, and we will be saving into this map bank folder. FPS Creator will automatically default into this folder. The reason being is all games have to be in this folder in order for them to build properly. If your student for some reason saves their game outside of this map bank folder, that game will be unable to be built as an executable file. So just reiterate that with your students that they do need to be saving in this map bank folder from the very beginning, and the only time we will be building into our personal desktop folders is when it's time to build the executable file. So I will typically tell my students to save their games as their first initial, last name, or their initials or their first name, along with their whatever they want to call their game, just so we can kind of differentiate between the different stuff. So you can see up here at the top, mine says mapbank/EC game, so I know that my game has been saved into the map bank properly. To remove random doors, so you can see I've got a couple doors here that are in random places that happened when I was building the game that I don't want to have it in these specific spots, and those are pretty easy to remove. What we will do is we will go to Segments, Add New Segment, go to Scenery, and at this point we can pick any door that we want because we're just needing it to help in the process of removing it. We're not actually putting it into our game. So I'm just going to select the first one and click OK. Now you can see that I've got my white box with my arrow inside of it. What I can do is hitting R on my keyboard, I can change the direction of that arrow. I want the arrow to be facing the door, and then I just move my arrow directly in front of my door and right click, and that will remove the door that I'm trying to get rid of. So again, you hit the R button on your keyboard to change the position of the arrow, move it in front of the door you're trying to remove, and right click. This one down here, so if I try it from the inside, it doesn't work, but I can remove it from the outside using the same process. And same with this door that is randomly showing up down here. This one doesn't matter too much because it's outside of our build, so if you can't get ones out of here to delete, it's not the end of the world. So now I've got my game, it's completely built, I've got my weapons, my enemies, some ammo, my different zones, everything is built and ready to go. So now what I can do is build my game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, Build Game. You're going to get a pop-up that looks like this. The first thing is go to your game project file name and click New, and you can change the name here. So you can see that mine switched over and it says elliesgame.fpg. If it doesn't change, it's not the end of the world. You can change the name of the executable file at a different part of the build build process. The key controls, these should all be correct as they were when we were testing our game. Level settings. This is where we bring in our levels or our different maps to be built into the game. So you can see that my EC game is already here in the list of levels, but you can add new levels or delete levels as you wish. So typically they will just have one in here, and it should automatically default as the game that they are working on. So mine says EC game here, EC game here. We're going to skip over the textures in the arena portion. We don't need to do anything with those. And then we're going to go into build settings. So this is where we would save into our desktop folder. So it'll automatically save into the FPS folder. But if you click this little button, you can go up, find your desktop folder, and save directly into there. I do not have a folder for my desktop for myself, so I'll just save into my desktop. But you will create a folder for all of your students where their stuff will go into. I can click OK. My game executable name is right here. It says Ellie's Game. You're going to keep the visuals the way they are, so no shader effects and dynamic lights. And then you would hit Build Game Executable. Building the games is a little bit of a process just because you can get some error messages when you're building. If that does happen, cancel the build, go back into your game, and try to figure out where the bug is coming from. Typically, it will tell you where the bug is coming from, so it may say error line 642, zombie with a grenade. So then you know that it's the zombie with the grenade that's causing the error. If that happens, you can try to remove those objects and come back in and try to build the game as well. If you get a critical error, so some form of a corruption or anything like that, it means the game is not going to be able to be built. If you do have that problem, I know that we do offer the FPS software, so you can just offer this child the FPS software, and that will allow them to take home a full version of what they've been working on, and then they can go home and build their games on their own. So that is how you build game executables and remove random doors in FPS Creator.